Crimson sunsets, long walks on the beach, loving to laugh. Are you tired of all the cliche bullcrap? Well, ditch the loser and try out this oozer, because nothing can compare to a perfectly fried Chile Relleno stuffed full of knee-bucklingly delicious melted cheese. If you're ready for a change, I suggest you stay tuned for today's recipe, Chile Relleno with tomatillo sauce. But first, I'd like to say thank you to our sponsor, Melissa's Produce. When you order from melissas.com, it always feels like Christmas the day the shipment arrives. You'll get the freshest, most beautiful produce handpicked from around the world and never have to worry about getting a boring old pair of socks. Melissa's, it's better than Christmas. And now back to our show. The secret to this recipe is love. Well, it's probably more the sauce, but to make it, you need to start with beautiful tomatillos such as these. We're going to peel them, rinse them, and dry them, and then lay them out on an oiled cookie sheet. Along with some garlic, some poblano peppers, a jalapeno, and 1 quartered onion. Then we're going to put it into a 450-degree oven for about 12 minutes. We're going to give everything a turn and then drizzle about 1 tablespoon of olive or avocado oil. And dust it with a little salt, and then we'll put it back into the oven for another 12 minutes. At this point, we can let it cool for about 5 minutes before removing the garlic skin and the pepper stems. You can change the taste and the heat of the sauce by baking more or less time and removing the seeds from the peppers or adding more peppers for more heat. It's always up to you. Then we're going to put all the ingredients into the blender. And let me say, those roasted peppers smell amazing. Before cutting a lime, make sure you roll it out on a hard surface to loosen the juice. I'm adding about 2 tablespoons. 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon cumin, a handful of cilantro, and then blend. At this point, we just created the best salsa verde you'll ever try, but we're not going to stop here. Pour that into a saucepan and fasten your seatbelt. Next, we're going to add 1 cup of chicken stock, 2 tablespoons of lime juice, 1/4 cup of orange juice, 1/2 teaspoon cumin, 1/2 teaspoon ground coriander, about 1 teaspoon of sugar, and finally 1/2 teaspoon garlic powder, and then we're going to let all those flavors simmer and fuse, marry if you will, until our sauce is consummated. Next, we're going to set our Anaheim chilies on a rack on a cookie sheet. Try to pick the largest ones you can find. Is that a chili in your pocket, or are you ready to make Chile Relleno? We're going to blister each side under the broiler until they're nice and brown. That color right there is what you're looking for. Anaheim chilies are one of the mildest and most common peppers found in nearly any grocery store. They're also popular as a canned product, but if you ask me, you just can't beat them when they're freshly roasted just like this. Oh yeah. It's time to peel. We're going to strip those beauties down to their birthday suits. And while I'm doing it, let's give a shout out to all the amazing mamacitas and abuelitas out there who make this look easy. Yo te amo. For this recipe, we're using Monterey Jack, which we're going to slice into long sticks that we can eventually stuff the chilies with. And it probably goes without saying, but anytime you cut the cheese, please use caution. I like to measure my stick before inserting it into the cavity to make sure it's the perfect fit. Next, simply create a small opening at the bottom of the chili, and then we're ready for Chile love. Carefully slide the cheese inside. Never have 2 ingredients been so right for one another. The pairing of chile and cheese is like the Romeo and Juliet of the kitchen. And just a reminder, whenever working with chiles, you can always use gloves for protection if you feel more comfortable. Notice I'm using toothpicks to pin the chilies closed if necessary. I learned this trick from an old friend long ago. Next, we're going to prepare our flour mixture to lightly coat our chilies with. Give each of them a good roll, getting all the nooks and crannies, and then set them aside. This is just the first step in our coating process. The second step is where the magic happens. But first, we have to make our batter. In a mixing bowl, we're going to add the whites of 6 large eggs, reserving the yolks for later. There are many techniques for separating the whites from the yolks. Tell us your favorite in the comments. And then it's time to break out the egg beaters. We're going to beat those egg whites until they form fluffy, pillowy peaks. This is going to create the magical coating that makes Chile Relleno so delicioso. Mix the yolks with 2 teaspoons salt before folding into the egg whites. Do it just enough to combine so we don't change the texture. You want to handle your huevos gently. At this point, you should have your oil hot and ready, because once we start dipping, everything will happen quickly. Just make sure you coat those chilies completely before dropping them into the oil. And let's work in batches a few chilies at a time. We're going to let them cook 2 to 3 minutes before turning them. As the batter starts to cook, I've found that pushing them down into the oil helps. It doesn't hurt to use more than one utensil. Here, I'm using a spatula and tongs, but use whatever works for you. When they've turned that beautiful golden color, drain off the extra oil and then lay them out on paper towels so they can cool slightly before plating up. If Chuck Norris had a favorite food, this would be it. It's like a roundhouse kick to your taste buds. The deep-fried chilies stuffed with melted cheese, topped with the bright flavors of fresh tomatillo sauce, and that cool crema tang. Why waste your time on disingenuous phonies claiming to bottle feed newborn kittens at the local shelter on weekends, when you can wake up to this? A real recipe with real flavor. Trust me, you're not being catfished. It tastes just as good as it looks. But you don't have to take my word for it. You can make this at home. So the next time you're down to Netflix and chill, this is your recipe. As always, thanks for watching.